Salut, Alligators, je suis en Paris. Oui, I'm in Paris, filming it while I'm here so I can give you some recap in real time. You know, because sometimes you get home from vacation, people are like, what did you do? You're like, I don't know. I have to go back through my camera roll and figure it out because I don't remember. It can just be kind of a blur, but you know I'm not going to leave you hanging. So I asked you guys, like, what do you guys want to know about Paris while I'm traveling? And overwhelmingly, y'all said solo travel. Because yes, I'm here flying solo. I actually love to travel by myself, but there's a few kind of distinct rules that I follow when I'm traveling by myself. So I'm going to tell you what those are. I'm going to tell you how to start. Ow, sorry, I keep sitting on something. It hurts. Oh, it's my microphone. I'm going to tell you how to start like traveling by yourself, like where to start to do it because it's not Paris, and like kind of the do's and don'ts, not just to have a good time, but to also stay safe and all of that. Do you guys like this dress? It's cute, right? It's like kind of long and silky. It's this brand Rixo. Okay, plus I'm going to infuse like my little travel diary here. You're going to see everything that I've been seeing in Paris and the surrounding areas, plus a whole bunch of dorky shit. Like I didn't realize how much I knew about Paris and Versailles and the French Revolution until I started to like talk about it. And I'm like, ugh. But it is still nothing compared to, oh yeah, Italy. That's right. Before we get into Paris, I want to remind you guys that we have a trip, a Shalligator getaway coming up to Italy. I added a second one because the first one sold out so fast. And if you're enjoying this France coverage and seeing what I'm posting on my Instagram and like my dorky little factoids that I'm infusing all my captions with, girl, buckle up, because this is peanuts compared to my chilling, embarrassing, almost bottomless knowledge of ancient Rome and Renaissance Italy. It's like the thing I love most in this world, besides all the pastries I've been eating here. And do you guys not love the fact that like the last video was like weight loss, and then everything you've been seeing on my Instagram was like, welcome to Fat City. It's my fourth pastry of the day. But it is, and I'm still okay. And you know what though? There's a difference between eating your calories and like gas station candy, you know, and just like bullshit, and having like the best souffle of your entire life. Some things are worth it. Just like spending money, just like spending your energy. And it's been worth it here. So I'm going to tell you all about everything. So yeah, join me in Italy. It's going to be so much fun. I love Europe. I love being here. I miss it so much. And okay, let's kick it off. What did you guys want to know? A lot of you guys were asking about the vaccine requirements to come here. So what I had to do at the airport in, where did I fly out of? Oh, Florida. So the reason I'm here is like, I had 2 trips to the East Coast. I had one in Florida, and then I had one like a week or so later in New York. And I'm like, ugh, it's such a fiasco to get back to Montana from like anywhere because it's so remote. Like it takes 18 hours from like Florida. It's a monster. And so I'm like, I could do that and just be in Montana for like 4 days, unpacking, repacking, all this bullshit. Or fuck it, I could just go to Paris. Why not? Cowboys with his nanny. One of my best friends is watching him. She stays at the house. He's obsessed with her. I'm like chopped liver compared. So he's totally in good hands. And I'm like, yeah, I want to go to Paris. I haven't been to Paris since 2020. Not like that's a long time, but I mentioned that because it was the last place I went right before the pandemic. I think I was literally the last day that the Louvre was open. I left the next day and it shut down the next day. So you know how like, if any of you guys are married or in a long-term relationship, the last guy you fucked before picking your dude is the guy you're the most obsessed with. It's not that you liked him the best, you just liked him the last. And so it kind of sticks in your mind, right? Because the way we get over anyone is to meet somebody else and just pave over it. And when we kind of don't get to do that, we just stay stuck. From a nostalgia point of view, that's how I've been with Paris. I've been to Paris before. In high school, I studied abroad every year in the south of France, in Grasse. It's this little town, this tiny little, it's not that tiny, but it's pretty darn tiny. It's near Nice and Cannes. In the Côte d'Azur, and I would go to Paris, every summer, and I never really liked it. And I went when I was a kid, and I had to go to Paris when I graduated college after my father died, because he died in Bordeaux, because he was French, and it was a fucking nightmare. It was a nightmare. Anyway, Paris never really been like Paris, ooh, it's so romantic. It's like fine. I always found that people would be very rude, which was especially galling because I speak French and I look French and I am French. And it's like, if you're going to be a dick to me, you're just a dick. But I guess it was kind of like any big city, you know, like if you go to the south of like the United States, people are more friendly in Georgia than they are in like New Jersey. That's just how it goes. So I was never like a huge Paris fan, but because it was the last place I went before the pandemic, I'm like, I have to get back to Paris. And my mom was even like, really? I've never heard you talk about Paris. You were always like, bleh. So I had to get back and I'm like, screw it, let's go. And so, okay, we're going to talk about solo travel in a second, but let me just let you know the vax requirements. So yeah, when I was at the airport in Florida, I had to fill out like some forms, like I guess contact tracing, and say whether I was vaccinated or not. I'm not. You guys probably know that if you watch this channel at all. You just have to say that you're not. And like provide your contact info. And then you get a little QR code that you have to show at the airport. And they're like, okay, like hold on to that. You have to show it when you get to France. And do you know who checks it in France? Fucking nobody. Literally nobody. And I'm sure that this is like a recent development, you know, because we're not wearing masks on planes. It's like the first week we didn't have to wear a mask, which is great. Yeah, no one checked anything. I tried to show it to the guy at customs. He's like, bien. Like, it's like I tried to show my pap smear result or like macaroni art from second grade. He's like, ça va, merci. Like, did not care, did not know why I was doing that. All right, so the TLDR is nothing. There's no vax passports here. There's no masks here. If you're in the subway, you have to wear one, but I didn't. And fuck it, nobody said anything to me and I could just play dumb American. If I have to wear a what? Oh, I am so sorry. I can play dumb pretty good. So Paris is like completely back open. And I haven't been to New York yet. I'm going soon. I'll have been by the time this goes up. But, you know, the news out of New York is grim. Homeless people pushing everyone onto the subway tracks, especially Asians. I'm really worried for my Asian friends. One of my Asian friends, her Asian guy friend, got his jaw broken by a fucking pipe the other day, walking down the street in the Upper East Side. So great. That's great. Makes me feel real comfortable for them. I just feel like New York is a cesspool. And honestly, I'm just dreading going. And part of the reason I want to come here is because I needed some sort of like, I don't know, treat for myself before I go to New York. I have the least relatable problems. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, speaking of, did y'all see me? Your girl was the top star on the Daily Mail UK. Oh, that weight loss video that I did got picked up. Hi, Jacques. Thank you. If you guys love good podcasts, and if you like me, and if you were like, I wish Shallon was a gay man with an Australian accent, do I have a podcast for you? My friend Jacques, he runs a podcast called Unpopular. Wait, I can do this. Unpopular with Jacques Peterson. Jacques Peterson. I'm trying to get it. He's the best. We're going to see Miranda Lambert next year in Vegas together. He's the best. So check him out. But yeah. I was the top story Daily Mail. So I hope you guys liked that video. Tell me more of your thoughts down in the comments. So why solo travel? Okay? All right. Because I'm going to give you some Paris highlights. Don't you worry. I like to travel by myself. And it's a point of pride that I am like emotionally able to travel by myself because I mean, I'm like you growing up and, you know, being younger is like the saddest, scariest thing in the world was to eat dinner by yourself at a restaurant. Like that was an insane bananas concept. And it was until I moved to New York and like a lot of people eat alone. And you know who points it out and like, oh, they're weird. Nobody does. Because first of all, literally nobody cares. It's like, it would be one thing if I had like happy birthday balloons and I'm like celebrating my own fake birthday by myself. That's not great. But like eating by yourself, I started to do it because I was having to travel so much for work when I was an editor at a magazine. And I'm like in these great places. I'm in Ibiza. I'm in, you know, God, all over the Caribbean, wherever. And it's like, I could sit in my hotel room and eat janky room service or get some ratty ass to go and like peer out the window like a chicken shit because I'm too afraid to go out and sit at a restaurant and I'm going to miss out on all these experiences, or I can just go. And look, you have friends. You have friends. You have friends. People like you. People talk to you. You have a rich, full, wonderful life. And if you don't, that's okay. I have plenty of videos on how to get that. But this actually, ironically, kind of might be the place to start. I have friends. I can eat alone at a restaurant, and if people are like, oh, she's by herself, I'm like, yeah, I'm by my fucking self. I got a blue check mark. Who the hell are you? I was top story in the Daily Mail, bitch. I mean, a souffle in peace. Now look, you don't need a blue check mark. You don't need a bit of top story at the Daily Mail, honey. Not like it matters. You don't need that. You just need the attitude of someone who has that. Mine. You can take mine. When we talk about confidence and situations, social situations that give us a lot of anxiety, what do I say? Zip yourself up into some sort of celebrity suit where you feel confident. It's like you're borrowing and templating off their confidence. Take mine. Take mine. People don't know you're not a famous influencer. People don't know you weren't the top story in the Daily Mail. They don't know that every dude is in your DMs. They don't know about your friends. It's like, if you just walk it like you talk it, if you fake it till you make it, it works. But look, I have passed the point where like I'm anxious about eating by myself. I don't even think about it. However, let's start talking about solo travel. Okay, so like I said, I like it, but not everywhere. There's certain places I will never go by myself. I mean, obviously a dangerous city is not smart. Like I wouldn't go to New Orleans by myself. I don't like New Orleans. I don't. One of my best friends lives there and she's always asking me to come visit. I'm like, Lizzie, I hate that city. I feel really unsafe there. And maybe it's like, there's voodoo in the air, which I should like because I'm a witch. I don't need to explain myself why I don't feel comfortable there. It's my own parameters. Great. I wouldn't go to a city where I couldn't speak the language or couldn't even read the language, like Tokyo or something, because I personally feel jerky being in a city where I have no shot of speaking or even reading the language, because I just think it's rude and presumptuous to be like, do you speak English? Why the fuck would they speak English? Do I speak Japanese? No. So if I'm traveling solo, I'm going to an English speaking place or a place where I speak one language. I speak French and I speak Italian, and that's where I've solo traveled. I also think it's really helpful to solo travel if you're bookending friends. Like if you're coming off a friend's trip or if you're about to meet friends, great. I would never solo travel to like a beach vacation. I know a lot of people, and look, that might be your steez. Okay. I wouldn't, just because there's a lot of downtime. A lot of time to be like bored and no one to talk to. In a city, you're so busy. And for me, as a New Yorker, like the energy feeds me. I don't feel lonely at all. I feel like I'm always around people, but you might be the opposite. Sometimes being in a big city kind of reminds you how alone you are. You see people at cafes and they're talking, you're like, okay. Also, it just kind of depends on where you are in life. Like if you're stressed out and you want to be alone, great. If you're in a period of loneliness, traveling by yourself might not make things better. It might make it worse, but maybe not. Maybe it's going to show you what you're made of and you're going to feel a lot more confident and you're going to sign up for some meetups online and meet some girls and go out and chit chat. Hey, but this is what I do. So when I solo travel, I put like 2 things on my schedule a day, so usually something in the morning, something in the evening, and kind of think about when your trigger points are. Like, do you get sad in the evening when you're like, oh, everyone's on a date and I'm by myself? And I don't mean just solo traveling. I just mean in life. Like we all kind of have our different, pressure points. Like, does it make you sad in the morning? You're not waking up with someone and having breakfast with someone like you used to do with your old roommates or whatever it is. So I book a lot of things through Airbnb Experience, not an ad. I'm just letting you know. And one thing I do every place I go is I book photo shoots, because this is the downside of solo travel. Who's gonna take your motherfucking picture? I mean, right? You want to get that good content. You don't want a million selfies. That's like kind of depressing sometimes. You're like, I have this amazing outfit and I want a picture of the Coliseum behind me and there's no one to take. Oh, can you take one? And they click one. You're like, thanks. No, you have a good day. They hand the camera back like it's mission accomplished. You're like, no, I get it. So I book people to take the content that I want. Now, also, I will usually go to places that I've been before, because when I'm someplace new, I really like to share that with someone. Oh my God, and this and the museum, and did you see how bright those lights are in the Coliseum, this architecture? Like, you're really jazzed and you want to share it. So I'll go someplace, I've been to Paris a million times. I've been to Rome a bunch. It's nice to have already been there, because if you've already seen the highlights, the Eiffel Tower, whatever, you don't need to go back there, and you can do things that are a little bit more niche, that are more authentic to you. Like, I'm going on a Louvre tour tomorrow morning, and it's hosted by a stand-up comedian. And it's like funny, weird things about the art in the Louvre. Great. I wouldn't want to be here with a good friend who has never been to the Louvre before. She's like, I want to see the Mona Lisa. I could give a shit about the Mona Lisa, you know? It's nice for me to be back in a city where it's like, okay, I've seen the big ones. I want to do my little niche stuff. Go to this mustard store and get these pastries and go at my own pace. The older I get, the more crotchety I get. And I like things the way that I like them. If it's a new place, again, like I want to be with my friend, we're all equal here. But if it's a city I'm familiar with, I really like having the time to explore it at my pace on my own. So how do you do this? How do you do this? Look, you don't have to dive headfirst into Paris, okay? Or anywhere, Rome or Tokyo or wherever. Try the town over from you. That's it. That's it. That's all you need to do. One town over. One town. I'll tell you why. Because I want you to learn to have dinner by yourself or lunch or anything, literally anything. First of all, don't go at the main times. When I'm out and about in a city, I don't take myself to like the coolest restaurant in town Saturday at 8 p.m. People are there. There's a million people. I do feel lonely. I feel like I stick out. You know, I will take myself to dinner at 4:45. I'll take myself to breakfast at 10:30 or 7:30. I'll go kind of at odd times when it's less busy, and I'll bring a book. I mean, a book or a magazine is great. It's more intentional than just like scrolling on your phone. We can all kind of look like anxious and nerdy when we do that. So I want you guys to endeavor to learn how to have a meal by yourself. Start with coffee and start it in the town next to you. No one's gonna know you. They're not gonna be like, are you Kristen? Yeah, who goes to Woodbridge High? And you're alone. Oh, so you're Kristen the loser who goes to Woodbridge High. First of all, no one's gonna fucking think that. When I see people eating alone, I'm like, it's a badass right there. They don't give a fuck. They're just living, they're rocking and rolling and moving and grooving. Good for them. So I want you to go one town over, okay? Get coffee. Then I want you to go 2 towns over. I don't want you to get breakfast. Maybe after the breakfast rush. Then I want you to go 3 towns over and get lunch. Do you see where I'm going with this? I want you to work your way out from your little circle, bigger and bigger and bigger. And maybe it's, okay, I'm going to try a whole new city. I'm going to go to Austin for the weekend, but I'm only going to be by myself for 24 hours. And then my friend's going to come in. I'm going to book my flight one day ahead. I'm going to test it out. I'm going to know that I've got a friend coming, so I'm not a complete weirdo and loser, which I'm not, even if no one was coming. And I'm going to try it. Okay. You might like it, you might not. But I found it something you kind of have to build stamina for. Like the first time I traveled by myself, I think I was in Italy for like 3 days before like a trip or something. And I was really lonely by day 3. I was really sad. I think maybe because Italy means so much to me and it was like hard not having somebody to share it with. But now I'm in Paris for like a while. I'm so happy nobody's here with me. My pace has been really hectic. Like I've been to Versailles, to Versailles and all over town. And if I had someone I had to talk to, or like, I like just walking around and being able to take as many pictures of that graffiti wall and this cute cafe as I want and go at my pace and pee when I am good and goddamn ready and just do it myself. So yeah, I booked a lot of things through Airbnb Experience. There's so many cool things on there, really cool. They're usually really affordable. Even the photographers are like under $100 for like a 90-minute photo shoot. Why not? Like you can pack some fun outfits and have fun, you know, getting ready for all the photo things. I think it's really fun. So you want to see Paris? Okay, here's some Paris. Let's see what I've been seeing. Take it away, City of Lights. So, okay, fine, Paris is growing on me, but the one thing I did that was, so special and so cool is a tour of Versailles. And again, this is something I booked on Airbnb. It was a bike tour, which is a great way to see Versailles because Versailles is enormous. So Versailles was built in 1664 by Louis XIV, the Sun King, the name he gave to himself. And we think of Versailles as a big palace. It is, but the grounds of Versailles, I had no idea they were so big. They're 2,000 acres. And the town of Versailles is actually super adorable as well. It's about 85,000 people. Again, I thought it was like the little village from Beauty and the Beast where Belle sings her mean song every morning to the villagers who are doing nothing but minding their own business and trying to make a living. I thought it was going to be like that. Nope, it's adorable. So the history of Versailles is thus. So Louis XIV, when he was a kid, obviously he was a royal, and he was like a miracle because his mom had been married to his father for 23 years and had not produced an heir. She had like 9 stillbirths. Terrible. So when Louis was born, it was like, oh my fucking God, it was a miracle. And so she gave him this Messiah complex his entire life. I mean, he's destined to be king. And this was back in the day when people thought kings were literally chosen by God, like they were ordained. And you really have to put that in context. Like now that sounds maybe kind of silly to us, unless you're super Catholic and you really feel strongly that that's, the Pope's deal. That's not something we are taught. I mean, after the Age of Enlightenment and like even the Industrial Revolution, we have a much more self-centered, in a good way, view of religion. Like we have an individual relationship with God. That was not the wave back then, okay? So Louis had this, he already had a Messiah complex. And then when he was about 10, there was like, there was some drama and invasions, and he was almost killed. Like people invaded his house and he was 10 and it traumatized him deeply. And he was like, no one is ever going to fucking take me out, ever. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to protect myself. And as a king, this was an extremely real threat. I mean, there were so many assassinations. So he did not want to have his seat of power in Paris when he became king. He wanted to be like out where no one can get to him. As someone who moved from New York City to Montana, I get this. So he packed up all his shit and moved out to Versailles. It was his dad's hunting lodge. It was like literally a swamp. It was in the middle of nowhere. Versailles is actually only like, I think 22 miles outside of Paris. It's 10 minutes by train. It's super, super close. But back then it was like, what the fuck? It's like if you moved the White House like to Montana, it would have that kind of concept. Like, why are we doing this? Louis was a genius though. He was an evil genius. I don't know if he was evil, but you know what I mean. So this was before France was united. This was the time when the nobility actually had more power than the king, which is crazy because you think the nobles is being ranked below a king. I mean, a duke is below a prince who's below a king, right? But the dukes controlled different factions, different parts of France, and they had an insane amount of power. They were all the landowners. They had people working their land, paying them taxes. And Louis was like, how do I consolidate power? Like, no one's going to take me out. I don't want any motherfucker scheming against me. What am I going to do? I'm going to kill him with kindness. In so many ways, Louis XIV was the king of the PR machine. Unbelievable. You guys read my Instagram caption, how I was like, Louis walked so Fauci could run? We'll get there. So this is what he did. He built this sick ass palace, right? It could hold, I think it had 600 apartments. It could hold between 7,000 and 15,000 people. Imagine you had a house like that, okay? Imagine that was the White House if you're an American. And so what he did, he invited all these noble, oh my God, come out. I got all this gold leaf, motherfucker. I'm the Sun King, yo. He decorated it. He threw 3 days of parties every week, feasts, balls. Why? Because when people are distracted, they don't have time to scheme. He didn't leave it there. He created this maze of etiquette. And, you know, we think of kings now, maybe you don't, but I do, as like, oh, and this is the man who hands the king his royal ascot, and this is the man who hands the king his royal rings. Like, huge amounts of etiquette and like formality and ritual every day. 100 nobles every single morning would gather in Louis's bedroom to wake his ass up. And that was like a great honor. great honor to be invited to do something like this. So he created this insane, demented social structure where these nobles who would priorly be plotting against him were now bumping elbows and cutting each other's throats, metaphorically, to be the one to empty his chamber pot where he peed and be the one to hand him his napkin. The person who took Louis's napkin, because it directly touched his mouth, they put it in this beautiful lapis lazuli, like gold sculpted, like vase, and paraded it around. That object was considered so holy, when it passed you, you had to bow. And the person who got to hold this thing was like, oh, clout city. These were rich landowners being like, I want to hold the napkin. No, I want to empty his poop. And he did it slowly. He's like, hey, do you want to hang here? This is so dope. You don't have to really do anything. You can just hang with me and party and fuck all these chicks and poop wherever you want. The hygiene there was a nightmare. Check my Instagram caption for some details on that. But they were like, yeah, oh my God, that's crazy. Why is this relevant? Ain't nothing new under the sun, right? Nothing is new in the world. When we get confused about our life and stressed, when I do that, I find great comfort in history, because I look at the parallels and I think, oh man, we could try to say, oh, that's so weird and so stupid. Is it? Are we not all chasing clout, chasing trends? Where does that get us? You know where it got the nobles? Fucked. They got absolutely fucked. Because here's what Louis also did. He instituted a really rigid dress code, because he's like, yo, France, going to be the capital of drip. Like, this is going to be the capital of couture, fashion. Because prior to this, France was like kind of a bumfuck janky country. Catherine de Medici, she was Italian. She brought forks to France. Before her, no one was using forks. They were eating with their hands. And ironically, now France is like, oh, cuisine, blah, blah, blah. That came from Italy, right? The Germans visited Versailles. They're like, you need to clean up the literal shit that is all over this place. And Louis is like, really? They're like, yes, this is sickening. You guys don't even bathe. They didn't bathe as a direct reaction to the plague. They thought water opened your pores and let in like evil and germs. So people didn't bathe. They would wipe themselves down and change clothes like 10 times a day. But they didn't really bathe. And the Germans were like, you fucking need to bathe. By the time Marie Antoinette came around about 100 years later, people were back to bathing. That's a long ass time to be so stinky. They did brush their teeth though a lot, which is odd. Anyway, so France is kind of a bumfuck place. So Louis was like, this is going to be the sickest fashion house in the world. It's fashion. So he made an edict. You can only wear French fashions. Everything that you're wearing has to be made in France. People are like, okay. And so he had these big lace fluffy collars, right? And these like gold embroidered like outfits and pantaloons and all sorts of shit. Why is that important? Do you know how much those things were? One of those lace bows, do you know what the equivalent cost of that? A sports car or a yacht. A yacht. Like hundreds of thousands of dollars for just this part. Not the gold embroidered thing, not the wig, not the shoes, not the stockings, not the jewelry, none of that shit. Just the lace. And you had to have like, a ton of outfits. You can't just have an outfit. Why is this significant? Because when people couldn't afford this and the nobles couldn't, first of all, they were away from their home, not taking care of business. I don't know how long you can leave your job and have things just not hit the fan, or a rental property that you never check on and it just goes out the fucking window. But that's pretty much how it goes. So people were losing money being there, like chasing this clout in this like clout spiral. And then it's like, oh, well, if we want more clout, and if we want to get closer to the king and have him do us favors and marry well and get to fuck this hot bitch and whatever, we have to look a certain way. Okay, well, we don't have the money. And Louis is like, I got you. You can borrow it from me. So what has he done? He has consolidated all of his enemies and turned them basically into clout-chasing servants who don't have the time to plot against him. They're busy handing the napkin and changing the poop pot and blah, blah, blah. And he's bankrupted them with this dress code. He has crushed his enemies. He has fed them these little crumbs, all these little crumbs of things they enjoy. Aren't you having fun? Isn't this amazing? And they're like, yeah, I don't want to leave. That would be so embarrassing. I can't just leave this cult, because it was a cult. How does this have to do with Fauci? How does this have to do with our life now? Because when we make the government the cosigner to our lives, it never works out in our favor. When we give our power to the government, well, they know what's best. Well, I'm just going to let them decide. I'm just going to do whatever they want. I'm sure it's going to be fine. That didn't go well. How did this lead to the French Revolution? Because all the peasants were watching this. So there were 3 estates, it was called. The clergy, who was like 2%, like the priests and all that shit. The nobles, who was maybe another 2 or 3%. And everybody else, all the peasants. Guess who paid taxes? Everybody else. Guess who didn't? The first fucking 2. So everybody's taxes went to fund these other 2 top tier groups. Imagine if you were paying taxes to Kim Kardashian and she owned the neighborhood you lived in and she was your landlord and she was also your boss because it was like feudalism. So you were working the land and paying her. And then you watched her have these insane outfits, fly on a private jet, and you couldn't pay your rent. You couldn't make ends meet. And you were like, are you fucking kidding? One thing I said in my Instagram caption, when Marie Antoinette got married, she had 600,000 candles in the Grand Canal at Versailles. 600,000 floating around. A candle at that time cost 1 week's worth of wages for the average peasant. That is like having $1 million+ of candles at a wedding that you paid for. Can you imagine seeing that in an inauguration? Millions of dollars worth of candles and you can't pay your rent because all of your taxes went to their fucking candle fund? I'd get a guillotine out too. So Louis kind of tied his own knots. And now Marie Antoinette was the great, she wasn't a granddaughter. She married Louis's great grandson. But by then, like, Louis kind of started this because people were like, what the fuck? Like, they were just really kind of blown away with how many wars he was starting, how many military invasions. And the grounds of Versailles reflected his egomania. He had all the gardens really squared away and sculptured and topiary to show that he could master nature itself, right? When you go to the fountains now, the fountains that you see, they run on the same machine from the 1650s. Can you believe that shit? That's wild. Isn't that amazing? My iPhone doesn't last 6 months. It's fine. So as we know, Marie Antoinette lost her head in the French Revolution. So that was in 1789. And the peasants were like, fuck this shit. Like, they saw the excess of the nobility and they're like, this is where our money's going. Are you guys out of your goddamn mind? And what Louis XVI did, that was Marie Antoinette's husband, not Louis XIV, the Sun King. This was like later. He's like, all right. I hear you guys. I hear you. I'm going to call a meeting of the 3 estates, the clergy, the noblemen, the peasants. That had not happened for 200 years. Imagine our president never calling the House of Representatives or the Congress or the Senate. Be like, nah, nope. I don't really need to hear from you guys. Again, like, we would rise up, but this was a monarchy, okay? So Louis XVI makes a very big mistake and he gets all these people together. And the peasant representatives are like, bro, we want this, we want like clean water and stuff. And he's like, fuck, I didn't think they were gonna say that. I thought they wanted to be invited to some parties, maybe a few of them. Ugh. And he's like, okay, can you guys just go outside for a second. We're gonna let you right back in, I promise. Nope, he shuts the door. He physically locks them out of the meeting. And they're like, we've had enough. And they did what most people do. They organized and they rose up, okay? Because there's strength in numbers. And that's how the French Revolution got its start. They eventually chopped off Louis XVI's head for treason, killed Marie Antoinette a few months later. And then they're like, oh, this feels good. Let's keep it going. And they killed everybody. They killed mistresses, vague nobility. Some people just happen to be standing around. I mean, they slaughtered people because they're like, no more of this shit. We're going to have a fucking republic. Just kidding. France? Okay. So after all that head chopping off, you think like, okay, they're going to install a president and they've been a republic. You know, they've been a non-monarchy ever since. No, that's not true. 11 years later, all these people from the revolution still alive, probably still in power. 11 years later, Napoleon comes along and he's like, guess the fuck what? I'm not only the king, no, I'm the emperor. Not just that, I'm the consul. Consul is an ancient Roman term. It's like emperor, king, god, all in one. It's like a big ass thing. Well, it's kind of president, but Julius Caesar was kind of the first. Anyway, that's a long story. He's like, I'm also the consul for life. So they were like, ew, a king? And they're like, but an emperor. Napoleon was kind of like Donald Trump. So he becomes an emperor, and then the French people are like, wait, this is like funny and cool at first, but now he's kind of demented and out of control. Huge egomaniac, had a lot of military victories. Eventually he got exiled to, was it Corsica or was it Elba? No, Elba? I think so. And the whole time he was plotting and scheming. He was blaming everyone else. Who does that sound like? I'll be back. I'll fucking be back. You can't keep me away. Sure enough, he unexiled himself, went back to the army. He's like, yo, anybody who wants to kill me can kill me right now. And they're like, we don't want to kill you. We love you, MAGA, Napoleon forever. He gets back on the throne, rinse, repeat. France had to go through 3 different cycles of emperors before they're like, all right, fine, we're 100% a republic now. It was not easy. And by the time they got a handle on that, boom, World War I. So France is a mess, but it's beautiful, right? I could talk about French history for a long time. And like I said, this is nothing compared to what I know about Roman history. So if you're coming to Italy, buckle the fuck up. But I'm going to try to make it interesting. So, Paris. I have really, Paris and I have like made up. Like we were like in a fight for a little while. I have had so much fun. Yeah, just bebopping around. I've eaten the things I've eaten. When I say 4 pastries a day, I'm not kidding. Now look though, I'm not eating the whole thing, okay? I'm not eating everything anywhere I go. I'm still really trying to stay focused on my fitness goals and my nutrition goals, but it's also like, dude, when I was fat, I didn't get fat in 4 days. I got fat all day, every day for months and months and months and months. So I didn't take the weight off in 4 days. I'm not going to put it back on in 4 days. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to try things, but I'm also going to understand that like, if I don't have that croissant, life will go on. But also just walking around and hitting your steps is really amazing. Ugh. Do you ever look at your health app? Don't buy a Fitbit. Your steps are tracked in your phone, for God's sakes, for free. I was looking, I walked like 13,000 steps today. I was like, what do I usually walk in Montana? 2,300. I'm like a snake. Like I don't move at all. It's really not great. So this was a good wake up call to like get it moving a little bit. Oh, okay. I want to talk a little bit more about solo travel. One thing you guys wanted to know is how to stay safe. Stay off Tinder. Honestly, like I know it's all this romantic thing. It's like, oh, I'm just going to meet this guy and like, we're going to fall in love. We go back to the cocktail party moment, right? That can get us in trouble. It's like, we're picturing ourselves like swirling a glass of champagne at our engagement party and be like, and that's when Jean-Pierre and I met and our eyes met and I was inhaling my 4th souffle of the day and we just fell in love. It could go like that, or it could go like Taken, you know? Predators, what do? An animal predator, they don't go for the strongest wildebeest. They go for the one that's alone, limping along by herself. Not that you're a limping wildebeest if you are traveling solo, but you might be. If you don't feel very comfortable, if you feel lonely, desperate people, you know, if we're giving off that vibe of desperation, that is the strongest scent in the world to a toxic person, to a predator. So I do not fuck with dudes at all when I travel. I just don't. Like, I mean, I can get laid plenty back home. You know, I also just don't want a one night stand, especially since I don't drink anymore. That those are basically impossible when you're sober, right? And that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to spend time with myself and to spend time with the city and to learn about the city and to rest and to hit my angles and my photo shoots and to eat my souffle in peace without having some guy go, you can, how you say, really pack it in. Is that what they say? When the Americans, they start to eat and they cannot stop and they go and they're like a boa constrictor. You know, they unhinge their jaw and they just take it all in. They just take it in. It's like you. I don't need that energy. Okay? I don't need that negativity. So don't go out. Don't go to bars and clubs. Try to stay kind of sober. I mean, have a glass of wine at lunch or whatever, but that can get you into trouble. Also, if you drink, it can make you sad. It can make you sort of sad and weepy, and you don't need that either. You don't want to wake up hungover in an amazing city and like waste your time. But you know, the good thing about traveling solo is if you do, you can sleep all day. Fuck it. Nobody has to know. Your friends are like, hello, we have to be at the Louvre in like 20 minutes. And you're like, I'm going to kill myself. It's a tree falling in the forest. Nobody even has to know you had that plan, right? download some pictures on Google Image and fake it. But yeah, overall, my strategy is like book little daytime tours. It gives you just enough human interaction so that you're not like roaming the earth by yourself, but you can like disconnect or connect more as you want. You know, a lot of people, they go on vacation and they want to meet other people. When I book my little Airbnb stuff, there's always people traveling solo. And in fact, if you look on the experiences in the reviews, a lot of times it'll say that like, hey, this is great for someone traveling solo, like a bar tour. I did one of those, even though I don't drink. I'm like, this would just be cool to see some nighttime places in the city with a guide. You know, it's safe. I wouldn't go to these places on my own. Like, I don't want to. But there were other girls traveling by themselves, guys. So I'm like, it was like a very nice way to socialize, and that wasn't sketchy, that wasn't lonely. And you know, if I hit it off with someone, it's like, hey, let's meet up tomorrow for breakfast. And if not, it's like, bye, I'm getting my rest. Very easy. But overall, I definitely encourage solo travel. Again, even in your own town. If you can't get to the town next to you, go to some random restaurant, go to the Ethiopian restaurant or whatever in your town. Try it. Just try it. What is the worst thing that's going to happen? Do you honestly think someone's going to come up to you and be like, I see you have no friends? Of course, they still have a French accent, even in your towns. I see you have no friends. Nobody likes you. Do you think peut-être you die alone? No? Perhaps it'd be a few weeks before anyone realizes you were missing and you are half eaten by wolves by then. By the wolves. By the wolves. Do you honestly think someone's going to come up to you and be like, hi, you look like a loser. I fucking dare you. I dare you. But that's not going to happen to you. Don't go to that Chili's in Dallas. It was bad anyway. It's going to be great. Just try it. Keep your wits about you. I mean, you don't need like a money belt or something stupid like that. Like, have a purse that zips, okay? Don't go to sketchy areas. Don't take the subway at night, okay? Please, please, please build Ubers into wherever you go. And I know Ubers have their downside, but not like a subway. If for no other reason, you don't get to see the city. It's very easy to get lost. You might end up in a sketchy part of town, and trains don't always run all night, you know? So just build that into the cost of your trip. It would drive me crazy in New York City to see families like trying to figure out the subway, and it was always the dad. It's like, I'm gonna get this. Jillian, I said I fucking got it, okay? And it's like, Dennis, lay down 220s, get your family in an Uber, cut the shit. I'm not telling you how to get from here. This is not the time to learn the New York City subway system. Just take a car. Thanks. So it really is just common sense, you know, but take it slow, work your way up. You'll get to level Paris one day, but it doesn't have to be today. Every step in the right direction is a step away from the wrong direction and a step closer to Paris. I hope you guys have enjoyed this little walk through the City of Lights. Cité de Lumière. I'm so sad that I have to leave, but it's really getting me excited for our Shalligator getaways because again, like those are things you guys come on by yourself and it's perfect because you can socialize as much or as little as you want to. Every girl comes by herself. I don't think I've ever had a trip where anybody knew anyone. I mean, you guys don't even know me, you know? So it really is such a great sort of way to ease into traveling by yourself. It's wonderful and everybody makes such great friends. And again, like if you just need your space and need to have your time and go read a book, girl, you do you. That's totally great. So please come and join me in Italy. I think that's going to be our last trip of this year, but you never know. I might surprise you. D'accord, Shalligators, à tout à l'heure. Bisous, bisous, bisous.